Hey guys, it's the Crypto Sniper, and I'm going to talk to you about Bitcoin, and I'm going to take you into what I expect is going to happen next for Bitcoin, and more importantly, I'm going to talk about a token that I feel is going to overperform Bitcoin, not ones we've covered before, such as Binance. We still feel that, we see it, but an even more liquid one. That's right, an even more liquid token that is likely to have a period now where it overperforms on BTC. That's right. So let's follow on from our previous crypto video and just do a little stock take, because it triggered nicely on an inverted head and shoulder, but we had a good run and then Bitcoin came all the way back. What happened? Well, there's been a lot going on with the dollar index, and the Federal Reserve and the cartel of bankers are playing the game. How many rate cuts? How many rate cuts this year? It could in fact end up being none, by the way. We've always biased that far less. They came into this year touting 7, and now you're looking at 1 maybe in December. That's how the needle has swung. We told you far less because there's nobody to buy the debt. Far less, far higher, for far longer. Rate cuts to be very, very minimal and very shallow and for very short duration if they are to occur, and higher spikes. Since the CPI number that came out and the federal meetings minutes, comments were made to the tune of, in the crypto world, yes, understand this has bearing on crypto realm, interest rates have lost their effectiveness and we need to maintain them higher and firmer. The consumer is less sensitive to the interest rate environment as a tool. What they're basically trying to really say is that there's nobody coming in to buy the debt, and as a result we can't buy it up ourselves and make the rates go down, debt value up, rates down. In other words, there's not enough bid, there's not enough desire for it, and they've actively undermined, of course, the debt markets by doing a number of things, such as confiscating Russia's assets on that was in treasuries. They've weaponized the financial system. These are active acts of intent, not incompetence, to destroy and accelerate the destruction of the financial system, which of course will see a reciprocal move from Russia and just accelerate the alternative payment rails for the BRICS, etc., etc. So anyway, all these things going on is accelerating the traditional TradFi's collapse, which generally is good news for crypto. But when it's rates related, and everyone's supposed to be expecting a cut, it leads to a bit of a headwind, both to metals, precious metals, and other things generally. However, that said, because of the failure of debt, because of the loss of the confidence in the traditional financial realm, people are buying silver and gold in spite of that, and crypto and Bitcoin. So you know you're winning when even in a supposed fairly firm dollar strength period, you get upside movements in the anti-fiats. So let's take a look at the charts and discuss Bitcoin before telling you which token in the medium term for a sustained period is going to outperform Bitcoin and should become your new Bitcoin holding. So I've spoken about having BNB, Binance long, and then having a little bit of Bitcoin because of Bitcoin dominance. What's happening now is we're shedding that Bitcoin dominance for something else that we expect to reflect dominance. So it'll be my backup second smaller holding, but for longer term, while I maintain my long bias in the crypto bull market. So Bitcoin's chart, here we go. Boom. Let's go to that chart. And no more macro natter. This, by the way, is very similar to what silver encountered, only on a shorter time frame, as a continuation pattern. These are broadening structures like that, and you can see the splitter that is through the middle right there. You can see it's taken up a lot of localized highs recently there, and there, and in fact you had, in a very small sense, and we'll just point it out from up top on the mountain here, we were on the 4 hourly, by the way, for those wondering. You did in fact have a small inverted head and shoulder after making a downside head and shoulders target. So there's the left shoulder, there was a head, and there was a right shoulder. That's after that head and shoulder at our fractal splitter level of this continuation pattern. There was quite a tall wick there. and then a right shoulder there. So you got brought down to the target level here. That then reversed straight away back in of itself. So that was just a resting at the splitter, pull back a bit above, pull back a bit below, and now back above. So that took you up, 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 and that brought us to our 67K, which was our enforced neckline. You had a little bit of a squeezy, but it was an upward angled squeezy that is part of our right shoulder complex with a far more traditional, typical left shoulder complex, armpit 1 there and armpit 2 over there, and the bigger head all the way through this price chunk of price behavior up to here. So that was a triggering event that occurred there. That was a triggering event. Let's go back to our pink over here. That was a triggering event, and you got on your bike really quick. However, you ran into this capping descending grind line, and I want to highlight a few things here, fine people. Bitcoin has only got a small way above the previous high. We are still technically in a bit of a gestating period in and around the small high. Some of you will go, but 73,000 or whatever it was over here, and yes, you did, but there was a very short period over that high. And again, this is the 69K line, by the way. You see the blue 69. It was kind of your high of the previous bull market. We've not actually had much hang time above that. And this whole continuation pattern has formed. We're iceberging here. These are the iceberg tops just above the 69. So it's still served as a technical point that we have yet to get away from. So we have broken, but we are hanging heavy. Most of the time we're below the waterline, like an iceberg. Most of the ice is below the waterline, with just a few tops sticking out above the 69. And it's no surprise to see the super low vol looking a little bit rounded top and looking a little bit soft here on a Sunday evening as we're going into, probably more of an American session now. It's already 6:30 on the European time frame in the evening. I don't think there'll be too much going on. It'll probably be quite light trade. And we'll get the early Monday Eastern session following the American session, and it wouldn't surprise me to first see a little bit more softness coming back in. So where does that leave everything? Well, as I'm highlighting to you, this overall structure will be broken, and we talk about once, twice, 3 times a lady in all our instances, and this is the 3rd time, and I would expect that this pullback, note the pullback here, often the biggest on the 2nd, as it was for silver, big pullback there as well for the 1st. This pullback is likely to be the smallest in my overall opinion, and wherever it ends up, my suspicion is we will be breaking that red line. Remember, the red line is a capping, but it is a descending grind line, so I'm not giving it an absolute value, because depending on how long it takes, it can slip a little lower. So it has a downside gradient on it, a small fall rate. However, once you break that, I think you'll be sitting on top of that, and that will be the beginning of the process of the next leg up. So a bit of softness first, but generally Bitcoin to continue onward and upwards. And again, reminding you, change color again, that you are still in a valid triggering head and shoulder by our unique manner of looking at complex head and shoulders. By many other peoples, they would not make head nor tail of it. Now, it's quite common to get a return move. Note how the 67 was a very clear support after you bumped into your capping descending grind line, and you are pivoting on either side of your 69. Look at this sandwich. This is so typical of price behavior, guys. Into the top of the capping descending grind line, bouncing and getting a small amount of support for 69, bang down to your neckline. That is a full return move, which is quite common after a break, particularly if you have a very soft shoulder. So we didn't have any sell-offs or profit taking here. People squeezed higher. That sell-off then happens a bit later, so there's a little bit more selling to come in, and it brings it back down right the way through to the 67K. Bit of a bounce, and where you're rounding out on the 69. So these are your 3 levels here, and then it's amazing how 67, 69, and then you're at roughly the 71. So you're talking about 2K increments at the moment, and you're probably going to visit this, and you may dip a small bit lower potentially for Bitcoin. So that's kind of your update on Bitcoin, but have no illusions. this is a big up leg, and this is all one long continuation pattern, and the break will be to the upside on balance of probabilities for us. We remain a bias long here, and in fact the pattern we were just telling you about should take you up to the 79 stroke 80,000 mark on the upside there. So that's Bitcoin. Small comment on that 69K and the key levels, and why highs are kind of still a little bit of a level. The previous bull cycle's highs are still a bit of a level. I'm going to divide this BTC chart by Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, the CSL. And you drop that one in, and I'm going to pull that through, and let's get a little bit more of the history in here. That's your daily, and I want to pull in the weekly. Can you see when you do a small inflation adjustment, actually you're yet to run a new high? So this is a wavering of Bitcoin in a truly adjusted sense against the CPI. Don't forget, you've had inflation compounding against you all through this time. So getting to the same nominal number at a later point, 3 years later, is actually not a great outcome yet. You're not at real terms new highs. You're at the nominal new high. So you made a nominal new high at the 74. But in truth, over here, your 69K, let's have a look at it. We're getting a nonsense number because we're dividing by the CPI. So actually, that was the 69K. You can see you haven't yet passed that. So we are still, in real terms, wavering at the key level, galvanizing ourselves for the next surge. So we've only really just got to the previous highs, which is very similar to this point over here. The difference being you had the quantitative easing of the events of March 2020 smash you through this. You got just two hammer pullbacks here, barely visible when you were at the 20K previous high. See it right there. And just before, you had that little hammer there and that little hammer there. That's actually small beer for pullback in comparison to what you've had to sit with here. A little bit of a falling wedge, I would argue. Nice hammers giving you support over there, and a little bit of a bump upside. But yet to break the all-time high. And in actual fact, you're yet to break the 64K high that was there on the top of the head and shoulder as well, which is also quite an interesting point. So you are, in real terms, below the previous all-time highs. And you should view it as such. It's a galvanizing, okay, we're going to do this run. We're going to run this obstacle. Okay, deep breaths, take a few steps back, build up some speed, momentum to clear the hurdle. So something for you all to consider in terms of Bitcoin. So this is still early doors for the Bitcoin bull. However, in our opinion, we are going to start to drop through the other bigger alt tokens. And typically this is how bull markets have gone. And I need to remind people of the firing order because it's pretty well adhered to. It's not a golden universal carved in stone rule. But initially, the real boss markets start with Bitcoin. There'll be one or two alts that will be streakers with Bitcoin. For example, ADA, the previous bull market, Solana, this one of the majors. I don't want to bring in too many micro caps here. And big movers as well. But Bitcoin leads and the dominance went up. But we pointed out that the dominance went out really so much so that it went out of the Bitcoin dominance chart, out of the bottoming range. And we called that for you and said, Bitcoin should be your number two guy. In between picking the one that's going to win, you should always have some Bitcoin in it. Now we're saying, that stage is over. Bitcoin is going to continue to go up. Yes, it will still be a bit of a boss and occasionally a honey badger. However, right now, broadly, more consistently, Ethereum, that's right, Ethereum, the number two by market cap, is going to start getting more relative performance. So let's pivot and say, make our case. as to why we are saying to you Ethereum can be combined with your Binance trade, which we've already given you and is still valid, and we are waiting for that breakout to take place patiently. Don't forget, you've had the dollar pivot strong. You've had rate cuts suddenly go from 7 starting the year right the way back to 1. That's not helpful for the crypto market. By the template they are selling you in terms of how to think, I'm saying to you, debt is dying. It will literally go to very low values, in my opinion. You should have the substitute money systems, whether in crypto or the original, whether it be silver or gold, in spite of what interest rates may be doing. Your inflation rate is a lot higher. But let's park that argument and let's go and have a look at Ethereum. So I'll start just with the Ethereum USDT chart, which till now, to be honest, ETH has been unspectacular. We did have a very nice upside HVF on the euro, and we said to you, listen, that's a great trade, and in due course it will slow. So let me just remind you of that one. Some of you might forget that we gave that to you. It was in previous videos. It might be your first video you're watching with us. So in terms of the ETH euro upside HVF, we gave you quite a big macro draw some time ago. And that one made its target. We said expect some gestation with this guy now, because it's made a big run for you. Let's just redraw it and highlight that one. It was one we gave some time ago. So here's that ETH euro that we gave some time ago, and there was a period where we said, yes, this one will do well for you. And now you're going to probably want to stand a little bit back after it ran target. A typical degree of overperformance. So here you had it. We gave you this draw. That was a triggering event. We were getting in and around the 1550s, and you were looking for just under. And we called for the 3,000, by the way. So you would know that the 3,000 is a very key value element, particularly in euros. Remember, this is euros now. So the pattern was better and cleaner setup. So the exit would have been around the 3,000 euro mark, and you overshot quite nicely a little bit. You went almost mid threes before pulling back somewhat substantially recently. And this is what happens after targets have run. So let's take you back to the ETH dollar, because you're all more comfortable there, but I just wanted to remind you of that setup draw. We also pointed out that you'll pause a little bit when you met the interim twos, pull back, jump, pull back, jump, but then once you are done with it, quick progress through. Fairly quick progress to the interim two from the breakout. So these are the big, with leverage, good moves where the market is predominantly moving in your favor. These are your stall points, and that's your progress decay period that took you all the way from possibly even 3.6 right the way back down to 2.6. So that's €1,000 swing. Okay, so that was your last meaningful call where we engaged on Ethereum to you. Now that pullback period, once you made the 3.5 on the euros, that was around 4,100 on the dollar. You can see this entire pullback period, all a falling wedge for us. So again, a great opportunity, a falling wedge back to the 3K on dollars now. We're back on the ETH USD. Please stay with us on that one. And you can see that big impulse, broadening out, a sell-off, and then a secondary impulse, sell-off, and then your third impulse into a low with a bit of a fairly hard bottom in and around the 2,850, but for a wick dip there. So you had a sort of soft floor at 3K that you weren't staying below too much, a couple of dips. You had only wick dips initially. Then eventually you got some candle dips. There was the headwinds of the dollar strength coming in and a little bit of other FUD, etc. But the dollar was fairly strong here. But then, as you would expect with a falling wedge structure, an upside break, a little bit of a return move, and here's where the dominance really has started to come into play. And as I was highlighting, Bitcoin was rounding out and topping out at the 69 and looking like a bit of a pullback. During that time frame, this is what Ethereum has done. So you can see the inherent relative strength even in the shorter time frames here from Ethereum. So Ethereum is going to start doing a little better. Some will say, what are the ETFs or the institutions accumulating? Go and chase the story. I can't tell you how much it's what. But I do think during this period, despite being a little bit of a silent sleeper, not really grabbed many headlines so far in this crypto bull market, that Ethereum might start to be just changing that. So what else do we have to show you on the Ethereum charts that might give you more confidence on why, as a whole, it may be a little bit of a overperformer? Well, this particular chart is the ETH dominance, and it's on a weekly, so it's quite a big time frame chart here that we're showing you. And yeah, that one is a couple of calls we've made on this some way back, and one of them was this inverted head and shoulder break on the 13 neckline. So this was a 13.1. I can make it solid, should do take it down in size a little bit. There you go. That one, people got really upset because we called there, it's breaking, and we said it's going to go up to 20%. 20%. It's going to exceed 20% on its move, and it was going brilliantly, and then it pulled all the way back and did another little fractal without invalidating. That was your right shoulder low there. That's your stop. Without invalidating, it did another little bit. There was a bit of noise at the time about gas fees. This was 2021, close to the bull market highs, and then suddenly it spat up and made its 20% target that we had expected from it here. So we've already done some targeting on this particular chart on an inverted head and shoulder. It broke, pulled back, and then rushed home to target, and since then it's been in this holding structure over here. We've been watching and had a couple of false dawns looking at it and discussing it inside the community. Will that turn out, the final low? We remember that. We were also looking at this particular token against Bitcoin, and Bitcoin dominance was eating Ethereum through most of this period. And you can see that Ethereum fell from 20% to a low here below 15.5. But overall, this entire structure is a winding up upside HVF bullish structure that makes us even more bullish than the inverted head and shoulder call we gave over here, where people got angry because it didn't go in a straight line. It first broke, returned, and then went in a near straight line. I remember that. Yeah, what about your ETH call? Yeah, it's still there. It's still there. It's still there. Oh, look at its target. Where are you gone now? No, you're not commenting anymore. Oh, okay, I see how it works. So instant gratification was, the lack of instant gratification was not appreciated during that period. And it's probably going to happen like that again. You've got to understand the markets. But I will say to you, as someone who is long Binance for the upside, and we can take a wee peek at that, we will hold ETH instead of BTC as our 1/3 for the 2/3 positioning on the BNB side of our major call. So BNB still remains my dominant hold and trade for the upside. Why? Because it's a beautiful HVF setup. That's right. But as my base token for the rest, and then a little bit of tether kicking around, this move really strongly up is very reminiscent of that move. So that gave us our first impulse, very strong. Then it was a long winding grinding road, a little bit up, eventually a little bit down. You got the flag here, you went a little lower, etc., etc. But this is looking like a squeeze, and it's looking like ETH is done with its down leg. Now that means, I would guess, probably getting quite close to 20%, if not surpassing 20%, and then possibly going quiet, and all the whiners will come out. They're not getting instant gratification. A little bit of chill, maybe even shed some percent again, but I would expect the third low to be a bit higher. If we were to get even that far, it could even be a little bit steeper. So I think the moments of truth is coming, whereby Ethereum moves and could get potentially a move that could take its dominance up to around the 28% mark. I'm guessing at this point we don't have the third impulse that we need, but it's giving you a guidance on Ethereum for upside. So you're at 18% now. We're calling 20 probably to be run. possibly a pause period for a short while. It could be very quick, it could be medium, it could be fairly lengthy. But once you've had a big bloated second, the duration here is super long. You know, you June of 2022 all the way to June of almost 2024, you're talking about now, before it. That's a 2-year second impulse. The longer that is, generally things happen a little bit quicker on the third. So there's that gestation period, you know, the 9 months or the 18 months it takes to birth an elephant. You know, that's the in utero period, that second impulse, big and bloated and lengthy by duration, longer than the first, and quite a lot longer than I would expect the third to be. So there's a coming dominance for Ethereum potentially, guys, and it could come fast or it could come slow. So I would shed Bitcoin holding, which is not to say Bitcoin won't have moments where it leads the chart, but I think Ethereum will be a lot quicker, and Ethereum may be drifting up when Bitcoin is easing a little bit down in those nothing day markets where there's no real drivers or of anything else, and those add up for quite an extended period. So ETH looking overall pretty damn good to be an over performer during that period. Okay, I'm just going to go past BNB and I'm going to answer. I know many of you are asking, what about XRP? You don't talk about XRP anymore. Yep, we can say something on XRP as well. Let's take a look first at the Binance side of things. So we're going to take you down to daily and pull this baby through. So this is a structured break for us. It's already happened. And that's a very powerful position, because we then become, in our worldview, of the biased opinion that now that you have triggered, you are a higher likelihood of making your target. So you are a prospective, like a pregnant woman, you're a prospective mother, but once you have a live baby that is born, you're a mother. There's things that can go wrong before there. Once you've triggered on a pattern, we expect this to perform. However, because of the same things that slowed Bitcoin down, the same things that have slowed the crypto market generally, the dollar and the rate cutting, the expectations are wild. The swings in rate expectations, guys, to start a year with some banks thinking there's going to be 7 rate cuts, and to be in May, and now everyone's expecting 1 in December. That's almost 0. That is and we've biased always on the short side of that. We've tried to keep people aware of that. But I don't know what these banks choose to price in. But boy, they've been as volatile as all hell. And when they keep readjusting that right back down, of course, rates staying higher for longer, not getting cut as far, not being cut as deep, that means dollar strength. And it means debt weakness, by the way, and it's often because of the debt weakness that they pushing the dollar up. Anyway, let's not get sucked back into this one. So this one is still good for me, and you've had a pullback into the funnel range over here, and now you're bouncing up. This is on a daily time frame. We can have a look at it on a smaller time frame. So it's, you know, it's just gestating. It's very low vol. It's just gestating a little bit. Do with a draw. Let's see if I can just smash the HVF draw on there again. 4 hours is kind of a bit tight, but let's see if we can get him the tool on there. By the way, don't forget, we should be, we've done all the videos for explaining the use of our draw tool here, and they will be released in about 14 days odd to our community. So our community will start to get that. You as a member of our community would have access after your first year to tools such as this for all those continuing their membership with us. And they're very effective, and they are awesome and helpful. They do a quick draw out for you. Now I should put this on daily actually, because the 4 hour we're actually expecting it to be a daily pattern, so that points to the 751. So you did pull a little bit into the funnel, and you did trigger the big pattern. Don't forget there was a smaller setup, we call those primers, pattern within a pattern. You'll learn all about that and how they work, and we love that. So that's kind of like the triggering event here, and stops down here. So that's why you can get quite decent risk reward. So BNB still is what we expect it to be. When's it invalidated? It starts to become a problem if it runs that. That means the prime is invalidated. It's definitely over if it runs that. And it can happen, if crazy stuff breaks out, war, demand destroying events, all hell in the handbag. But I think we're pretty good. We'd prefer it didn't pull back after breaking, but it's already run this high, and it's come quite close to the secondary high. So we expect that one to do. So that remains our main hold. What about XRP? So the XRP fans. So here's something for everybody to kind of understand. XRP, if we're not talking about it, it's because it's doing nothing interesting. Does the macro still hold? Yes, for us, the macro still holds. There is some concern about its general performance. Don't forget, they've sold about $1 billion. About 894 to meet, fines and various other costs. So, that one, they are generally selling off tokens to meet these SEC type likely commitments. Once this particular possibility, we could have broken, we had a pullback, we could have set up and had a winding up set up for upside here. Once this big sell-off occurred here, that actually ran this and meant, okay, this is nothing, it pushes the timeline out for XRP. So we don't want to overspend. So I've got actually nothing in XRP right now. I do have a structured position in it, which I've committed a certain amount of capital to. And that means if it suddenly broke tomorrow and ran $4 or more, I'm good. I'm making money. But in terms of my typical trading account and position where, you're having cost of margin and all of that, I'm sitting out of it. So why? Well, because it's slow. It's slow and it's behind schedule. But is it going to come? Overall, I would say yes. Let's just get this. I think it's Bitstamp. Is it Bitstamp that's got the long history? That's it. So this is still your setup. This is still your setup. I think we're waiting for a demand destroying event. That's our low 2. We're sitting at the moment with that as the highest of 3 points. It seems very, very stable in and around the 40 through to there, but it's getting quite kind of low vol actually compared to what it's done, and it did have an upside move. That's all very good developments, but it's not yet moving to the upside. So XRP is not behaving like it's in a major bull market yet, but it is behaving like it's tightening, consolidating, and squeezing at current price levels and validating them for quite a while. It is behind on its dominance. It's behind everybody else. And we know some of the reasons why. They keep proliferating because they have to, and the SEC court case. So we know some of the reasons behind all of that. So it remains of interest because it had a smaller bull market last year, and it therefore has given us the potential for an upside HVF. But it is hanging low. It's hanging heavy, and you wait, and there has been before. This was on obviously a lot lighter volume, a final washout before you go up. And many thought, well, maybe this particular candle was that washout. And you're just 1, 2, 3 big monthly candles away. So in the next, 3 months, all hell could break loose and we could have a super strong move and breakout. That remains to be seen, but it's getting super tight and it's super low vol. What is there for us to report? Is it about to do something? No, because the smaller time frame structure spoiled. So that just kicks the can down the road a little bit longer. That means we have nothing much to say for a while. So no change in our forecast for XRP, but when we were talking about it a lot, there was a possibility here that it could begin a move out there that could be part and parcel of cascading moves that could see the bigger move triggered. Once this got invalidated and it was remaining on the soft side of relative strength, it's just sitting, lengthening and going on. So we put our alerts, and I would say, I don't even need to be over informed. If it gets above 58, and below 45, let me know. But as long as it's in that range, I don't have to think about it too much and care, especially while you can have the likes of Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin in our view, and Binance outperforming them all, potentially getting, from upper 500s into mid 700s. Well, I'll take that rather than sitting and going sideways in XRP. And I think the XRP move will come with the larger reset, or the larger declaration of UBI, CBDCs and their role therein. And if it is to come, by the way, so it's no guarantee just because you have a structure, but if it is to come, that'll occur. Where do we say, hey, we were wrong and it ain't happening? You've got to have a level at which you say you're wrong. And I would say to you 100% that our low 2 here would mean that that's not the 2 impulse we thought it was. That base paid at low, which gives you a low over there. Now that's some way above the price action. And that is low 2 is 28.7 cents. So it is some way below, but it wouldn't tolerate our current draw will not tolerate a 28.7 run. Then this pattern has changed and it's more likely to fail. Now, is there a way it could still exist? I would set this aside for a while and I wouldn't talk about it for quite some time again, but it could technically even break down. If we had a crazy macros and you did this, but it stayed well above that, and then snapped back really fast and gave us an RH3 and then chilled out like that and then started to come up, you could definitely still do the targets we've already drawn for him, and you could make a lower RL2. But if that were to happen, I would, I'm not accepting of that, but if it came down and then rebounded really hard and went straight into giving us a strong, firm, higher than this point, third high, which is lower than the first one and the second one, but really with strong momentum, it could fix its structure and it could still technically run. But for me, generally, the 28 is going to probably be a fail on balance of probabilities. You're then in the outlier category. So for the XRP guys asking, you haven't updated us on that. Don't forget, it did absolutely storm it with this structure many, many years ago now. But there was that washout. Now it was a bit exceptional. So you could still have some degree of washout, but I wouldn't want to see the 28 fall. We've got a bit of a base plated low with 2 candles very similar. So it's proper stake in the ground. So it needs to stay above that, and it needs to start drifting up and leaning to the upside. At the moment, it's just lowering volatility, but it's spoiled that structure. So there's nothing really too much more to state apart from, at some point, if it wishes to participate in this bull market, it needs to start moving to the upside. But it could, in a single month, off announcements, literally do something very similar to that. And it needs to be extensively proliferated as well if it's to be utilized. So what's currently a negative, the selling off, is actually disbursement of this particular token throughout many, many hands, both institutional, retail, and other partners. So in the longer run, the one thing about the dollar that makes it a strong fiat currency is that it is globally dispersed. You can be in the middle of Africa somewhere and people will have a roll of dollars. They've made lots of them and they've got them out. And in a kind of way, XRP is achieving that with its travails and its issuance and its disbursements of XRP. Okay, so what have we told you in this video? We've told you Bitcoin broadly is in a continuation and is a macro bull. So stay with me. We're going to recap this very clearly. It's in a broadening structure, descending capping grind line, and you are going to break that to the upside, but potentially a bit of softness just before. You've touched 3 times, we expect a 4th time a break, but that doesn't mean you just rip. You can sit on top of it, kind of like how gold broke the 2000 and just sat on top of it for a while, then wound up and then ripped to 2.5. In the same way, Bitcoin could be doing something like that. So it is a bull market, and we need it to be. However, Ethereum, in terms of its relative value and dominance, may start getting a bit more of the love going forward, and Bitcoin dominance could slip a little bit broadly. So we might be getting to that alt part of the market, and we tend to go via the market cap. Don't forget, we've already got you in Binance. So if you're in Ethereum and Binance, and Bitcoin dominance is now slipping a little bit, but it will still be doing pretty okay. In the events that we expect on the upside break of that capping descending grind line, and not, how much more bullishness can you get out of the dollar? How many less rate cuts can you have than next to none in December? That card has largely been played now. Those adjustments have largely been made by the bankers, and if we get some sudden weakness, cuts could come back the other way. So Bitcoin, strong, but not the most spectacular. Ethereum to outperform. You will have Binance as one of your other tokens that is out there, and I think that's the second, the next biggest after Ethereum. Let me go check coin market cap. I think it is now, of all the tokens, the next biggest. I'll have to just double check. Sol isn't ahead of it. Yeah, so BNB. You would be in Ethereum and BNB, so we are dropping down the market caps for the next ones, and I'd expect those two to be particularly strong. Some of you will then be looking one further down the line and saying, what about Solana? And below Solana is XRP. So if the firing order continues down by market cap, Solana was an early runner as well. And they tend to outperform generally whoever was the early runners of a particular bull market. You could get good performance again out of it, but at the moment we'll take Ethereum first and Binance. So that's the firing order, and I think we're going to drop down some of the market caps, and that could see the spotlight swing to XRP and Solana after Binance and Ethereum have had a fair old go. So pretty good. The new boy that's done well is TON. ADA's barely hanging on now to the top 10. It's underperforming, and we've continued to, I don't want to say knock it, but highlight that technically it's an underperformer and has looked it. And, I know there are a lot of Charles fans and all of that. This is not a tribe selection thing. This is just a chart thing. ADA is an underperformer technically across all the coins. I know it hurts to hear that. Sorry. That's how it looks like. And then, AVAX quite new. SHIB's fallen out of the top 20. And then we're getting into some of the others that we won't bother with. Okay, so that's your summary. Bitcoin, fine, bullish upside. Ethereum to outperform. Binance still our primary pick, and then we follow the market caps down. We've done this most bull markets. I'm reminding you that it often works, and that will shed the light back on Solana and XRP potentially. XRP desperate to get a little bit of a love. It's been sort of tight and range bound. That's not a bad precursor to a spike on some news, by the way. But, you're looking for something that comes out of the blue, and I can't tell you when that might fall. But it might be up next. Okay, hope you've enjoyed that. Don't forget, click the link below to book a call so that you can maximize during this bull market. By the way, we've got guys in the community that are trading some of the smaller stuff, a little bit smaller, that can be a bit more exciting, but we don't go into the mega micro caps. But there are a lot of guys that have got some views. We know the AI, and that goes on in our communities. I prefer to talk about the top 10. It's liquid. We are not in any way controlling any of these markets. We can't pump or dump. We are focused on integrity in our crypto channel, and we give you our best technical takes on the majors in terms of how they do. And often the move will make you the money, not the leverage, and you don't need to be in the smallest caps. Liquidity is important for being able to get in and out. Until I catch you next time, thanks for watching. Bye for now.